Hello guys, welcome here to another edition of Out of Turn 4. I'm Brian here with you today. Of course, coming up on the show, we will be talking NASCAR at Kansas. We will also be talking a bunch of silly season news. It's kind of been a slow news week in terms of silly season, but there have been some key points that I think need to be discussed here. We are also going to discuss or make our picks for the upcoming weekend in Martinsville. But of course, we get this all kicked off. First off, congratulations to Max Verstappen. I hear that F1 race was pretty interesting. He held off Lewis Hamilton for the win. I didn't see the race personally. I don't care to watch F1, but nonetheless, good to see Max Verstappen get the win at COTA. All right, moving on now. So we will talk NASCAR Kansas. Ty Gibbs, keep in mind he was my pick for Saturday's race. He was the winner in the NASCAR Xfinity race at Kansas. It is his fourth win of this season. And let me tell you, I know he's got an Xfinity ride for next year. There's no doubt in my mind right now that he will be in the 18 or the 20 next year. My bet's the 18. And needless to say, he's going to have a breakout year. I mean, I don't want to make my predictions yet. I would love to make it on season number 2 of Out of Turn 4, but I just can't sugarcoat it here. He is going to have a breakout year. I wouldn't be shocked if next year he gets 10, 11 wins, and he's your clear-cut Xfinity Series champion. But that said, of course, much like Austin Dillon, I mean, you got to factor in if he wasn't racing in Grandpa's equipment, how good would he really be? Because you look at Hemrick and Burton, who have been not so good this year. Harrison Burton, I've actually criticized this year. I thought he was going to have a breakout year, and it didn't happen. But, oh well, that's all I can say. I'll be interested to see what happens with Ty Gibbs, though, as we go into the 2022 season. Of course, we know for a fact he'll be full-time in the Xfinity Series and probably a part-time truck schedule driving the number 51 for Kyle Busch Motorsports. I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen. You can mark it down. You heard it here on Out of Turn 4, October 26th, 2021. Anyway, on to the Cup Series. Kyle Larson, he won his third straight with his win at Kansas. It is his 9th win this season. Of course, he was chased down by Chase Elliott at the end, but Elliott just couldn't run that line, and he was hitting the wall pretty good. It's unfortunate, but, he's 34 points above the cut line, so I would say, unless something drastic happens, maybe he's good. Of course, we know Kyle Larson is really locked in now. 2 wins in this round. It's looking like he's unstoppable. But I point out that Hamlin and Harvick the last 2 years struggled, and you got to factor in, too, no playoff points carry over to the next round. So when we enter the next round, anything could happen. Okay, if Larson wrecks at Phoenix, he's done. Okay, so don't rule it necessarily right now as, he's going to win. He's got the championship in the bag. It doesn't matter. With this format, it does. Now, if this was the old format, I'd say he's done. He's won the championship. I think it's his to lose. There's no doubt about it that it's his to lose. And I just don't see anyone that could beat him on a given day. I mean, that 5 team is just so strong everywhere we've gone this year. And to be honest, he's outpaced the 9, which is even more shocking because I thought Chase Elliott would be the one leading that team this year at Hendrick Motorsports. I thought they'd have a better year, and I was right about Chevy having a good year. But, boy, I did not expect this from Larson. He is like on the ultimate FU tour right now. It's just unreal. Of course, Martinsville is next. We'll see what happens at Martinsville. Who will make their way into the championship 4? That's going to be a key here. Anyway, on to some silly season news. Of course, it's been no secret that Nico Hulkenburg has been wanting to come over to test an IndyCar, and he's tempted to leave F1. Kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you, okay? You're making a smart decision, okay? IndyCar is an up-and-coming series outside of the Indy 500, which we know is the greatest spectacle in all of racing. But it is great to see these F1 guys come on over and want to race in IndyCar. Because you know what? They know that they have a better chance to win an IndyCar. They know they have a better chance overall in IndyCar to be competitive. They're making the right choice. Of course, David Malukas will also likely be in the IndyCar field next year himself. Now, Hulkenburg tested for Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson. I don't exactly know who Malukas tested for. If someone can verify that for me, that would be great. But, I guess ultimately the question is, will Hulkenburg drive for Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson? Yes, I think so. In a part-time effort next season. I think he'll run... he'll probably run the Indy GP for him. Or the second one, the Spiked Coolers race. He'll run the Indy NASCAR double, I think. He will then run probably Laguna Seca and Road America. I could see him running those 3 races. Those are 3 for sure. I could see him run possibly Mid-Ohio. So I could see him running 4 to 5 races. Juan Montoya, I think, will run the Indy GP or the GMR Grand Prix in the Indy 500. So I think this car will essentially get 7 or 8 starts. I know Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson has been looking at fielding a 3rd car. McLaren now has a bigger role in the organization, a bigger chunk of the ownership. It is possible that Nico Hulkenburg is the driver. I mean, they've said they want to go to a 3-car organization by 2023. I just don't think Hulkenburg, keep in mind, he is coming from F1. He brings big money, which is huge, and money talks. So maybe Arrow McLaren adds a 3rd car to the grid full-time for him. But I think part-time is more realistic. I think this team would be making a iffy decision to go to a 3-car organization right out of the gates. Because let's look at it. Pato O'Ward was good. I'll give him that. Pato O'Ward was great last year. He should have very well won the championship, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. Then, of course, you look at Felix Rosenquist, and he wasn't all that... he was impressive, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't... He really didn't put up standout performances. That much I will say. He didn't really stand out as much. He had some flashes of brilliance, but to be honest, they have some work to do with that 7 organization. I think the big thing is right now you want to get 2 cars that are really competitive before you go to a 3-car organization. Now, McLaren has the money to make that happen. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, Ray Hall, we could compare this to Ray Hall, but Ray Hall is about as competitive as they could have gotten with a 2-car organization. Now they got a 3-car organization. Maybe it benefits them. Maybe it will for Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson. Who knows? It's possible. As far as Malukas goes, he doesn't have scholarship money. Keep in mind, of course, Kyle Kirkwood won the Indy Lights Championship, and because of that, he got the scholarship money. I believe Malukas will run a handful of races. I know he's been linked to Ed Carpenter to drive for the road courses. I know he's been linked to a few teams. Maybe, I'll throw it out there, maybe AJ Foyt that's a possibility. Could Team Penske be a dark horse? I mean, Penske has a 4th car vacancy, but of course they could downsize to a 3-car organization next year. That's a possibility. Could Ed Carpenter Racing expand? That's another big question. We don't know anything out of them right now. I imagine that is the least likely scenario. But, could Malukas also end up at Andretti? I don't think so. I think that actually is the least likely. So, again, Malukas is an interesting case. That much I'll say. He's an interesting case, to say the least. The other big headline coming out of Barber, of course, Ryan Hunter-Reay did the test session for Ed Carpenter Racing. Is it possible he replaces Connor Daly? Let's face it, Connor Daly, I like him. If you've seen my Twitter the last few days, I answered the question, what made you become an IndyCar fan? Drivers like him made me become an IndyCar fan because he was so friendly with the fans and he's so interactive with them, and he does, he embodies IndyCar, but he hasn't put up the results, and that could be because he's running for 2 different teams. It could be because he's just not performing. Maybe he's not as good as we think he is. I don't think that's the case necessarily. I mean, Ed Carpenter Racing, outside of the win by Rinus VeeKay, you run a part-time schedule with any team, it's going to be harder. And not to mention, he's doing it for 2 teams at Carlin and Ed Carpenter. And he's, it's tough because you're working with 2 different crews. You're working with 2 different organizations. So you've really got to kind of learn on the fly. So, again, I think Hunter-Reay, I've said it from the beginning. I might say it again here. I think Dale Coyne would be the best fit for Ryan Hunter-Reay. I feel like they can make him competitive. I feel like they can make him look like the Ryan Hunter-Reay that won the championship back in the day. We'll see, of course. Anyway, on to the next story. Of course, Dale Jr., Clint Bowyer, Tony Stewart were all tapped to run the next gen at Bowman Gray Stadium. I imagine this is mostly to prevent any of the other drivers from gaining an advantage as we go to the LA Coliseum February 6th. So again, possibly because of that, could these guys run a one-off? I could tell you right now, Bowyer won't run a one-off, or he won't run a one-off in the first 16 races. I could tell you right now, he won't do it. Fox might tell him no, because again, he is a Fox Sports commentator. But I think, again, most of this just to find out how the next gen will run on that kind of short track, that stadium-style short track, more than anything else. But again, for Clint Bowyer, it'd be tough for him to do the first 16 weeks because of the fact that he is a Fox Sports reporter. Dale Jr.'s got 20 races in the back half of the year. That would make it tough on him as well. And on top of it, Hendrick Motorsports doesn't have the seats, but he could run for Spire in the 77, assuming they don't get a full-time driver for that car and they continue with that program. He could do that with Steve Letarte and with Hendrick backing. Maybe he won't run the 500. I can tell you that much right now. I think he's, wanting to protect his health. Tony Stewart, probably the most likely, I think, out of those 3. And hear me out here. Again, I think Junior and Bowyer are the least likely. Stewart's got just as busy of a schedule. Now he's running an NHRA team. He's running the NASCAR organizations. He's running SRX. He's got the most on his plate, but I will tell you that I think that could be the most likely, if that is the reason that these guys are testing, because keep in mind, Rick Ware Racing now has a technical alliance with Tony Stewart and Stewart Haas Racing. And same thing with the 78, if I'm not mistaken. BJ McLeod Motorsports, or Live Fast Motorsports, they also have the tech alliance with Stewart Haas Racing. So any of those rides could be possible, maybe for a one-off, maybe at the Bristol Dirt Track. I mean, I'm sure he'd love to run that, or the Indianapolis Road Course. But those are, of those three that are doing the test, I believe it could be Tony Stewart that would be the most likely, most likely to run a one-off. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the chances are slim, but I'm just saying of those three, he would probably be the most likely to do it. All right, on to the weekend predictions. I know we're only 16 minutes in. It's going to be a short show today. So Truck Series at Martinsville, I got John Hunter Nemechek picking up the win. Then we go to the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Martinsville, and I'm picking Harrison Burton. He won it last year. I think he can do it again. And then finally, the Cup Series at Martinsville. This has Denny Hamlin written all over it. I'm picking a Toyota sweep to wrap up the round of 8 in all three series, as we get ready to go to the Championship 4 in exactly a week and a half from now. All right. Believe it or not, that's all we got for you this week. A short show. So we want to thank you for watching. Again, we want to remind you, first off, where is it? There it is. Be sure to join our fight this November. Of course, noshave.org/team/the Tinkle group. Of course, we are going to be raising money for cancer awareness. Myself, Jason, and Marty, I believe Marty from, No Final Bell, we will all be doing the No Shave November challenge. Of course, got to get rid of this on Sunday. Got to have this ready to go on Sunday. But yeah, so we're going to be doing it this November. We can't wait to bring it to you. And of course for a good cause, and we hope you guys will join our fight this November as we say to cancer, tinkle on this. Then of course, now on to the big news. Of course, keep in mind last week I announced it. I'm going to re-announce it here, of course, as a programming reminder. We will have a show next Tuesday, November 2nd, and we will have one more show Tuesday, November 9th, both at 5 p.m. Eastern for Out of Turn 4. After that, Out of Turn 4 Season 1 will be complete. We will actually be taking a hiatus from the show after November 9th. It's just because most motorsports are done. I mean, look at it. We're barely pushing 18 minutes right now. So, to be honest, it's kind of pointless to continue when there's not much news in the off-season. We might do a Daytona 24-hour edition in January. Otherwise, we will be back in early February with the first race, or the first episode of Out of Turn 4 Season 2. Once again, episodes at their normal time, November 2nd, November 9th. After that, we are on break until February, with the possibility of a IMSA 24-hour special edition Out of Turn 4 in January. But anyway, we want to thank you for watching. Be sure to like or dislike and subscribe here to Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. I'm Brian here, and I will see you all next week for another edition of Out of Turn 4. Otherwise, if you want to tune in before that, I will see you on Sunday morning for Tinkle Sports Talk. So until then, goodbye everyone.